Kahala Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadash, Yahweh, being the true name of the Father, as the word ignorantly calls God, Yahweh Shai, being the true name of the Son, as the word ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, along with the Holy Spirit, who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, and to the brothers that's pushing this truth in sincerity, risking their life and freedom to do so. And shalom to the brothers and sisters that are listening and learning. This is your brother Labah, coming to you with another lesson in truth. And the world literally is brainwashed. All right, I'm gonna get into this lesson. I don't know what I'm gonna entitle it, but I'm gonna be hitting a lot of information. All right, so that's why the world all effed up, because the so-called white man literally has brainwashed the world with his artwork, with his fake history, with his pseudoscience, with his religious systems, with his so-called educational systems, so on and so forth, social programs, welfare system, has kept our people completely bugged out, lost in the sauce, can't see the forest from the trees, completely insane. All right, so let's get into this lesson. I'm gonna read this. It says, we know, Salakia, what we know of history, what we have been taught, what has been presented to us, impressed upon us, embedded into our consciousness through repetition and visual imagery, Salakia. What does this mean? So your whole perception on the world and facts and history has been given to you by the so-called white man. So that's why when we tell our people the Messiah and the Israelites, the patriarchs out of the Bible, the prophets, the men of the Lord were so-called black men, they can't comprehend it because of the witchcraft of the visual images that was given to them as a child. The school system brainwashing, when they push Christmas, they push Thanksgiving, they push 4th of July, Valentine's Day, all these pagan days to the children and indoctrinate them at a young age. So let me show you something real quick. And it's deep. It goes through generations, man. It's to the spirit, man. This psychological warfare that has been done on our people for many, many different years. All right. And this is the devil that our people got in their imagination when they think about the Messiah. All right. When they think about the Most High, when they think about the Israelites out of the Bible, they envision them as being so-called white men because of the imagery that they were shown growing up in so-called history. And this thing is vast. This lie is vast. Let me read this again. It says, we know what we know of history, what we have been taught, what has been presented to us, impressed upon us, embedded into our consciousness through repetition and visual imagery. It says, fortified by the assumed infallibility of the Eurocentric intellectual and scientific authorities that present us with information. So to make this, so you can get it, the so-called white man has put all these institutions, all these different systems to push this lie, to push so-called white supremacy. All right. Let me get back into this. It says, and for the past 2 centuries or more, Eurocentric Western scholarship has dominated our view of what we know of history, which is nothing but the truth. They whitewash history, they distorted history, they tell half-truths, they do nothing but lie, 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 and they tell it with a straight face. That's why people can't really get it. Let's get more into this. It says, we know of history from the Americas to India and all the areas of the world once colonized by European nations. So they spread this stuff throughout the whole 4 corners of the earth, man. It says, although the standing armies which once subjugated these various nations are gone, it says legacies of European colonialism yet remain. The Christian religion, that's why we telling our people to come out that Christianity, man. That's a demon. All right, he come with a lot of madness and a lot of confusion and a lot of this insanity, man. Get back into this. So that's what the so-called white man bought, that Christianity. It says the European language is spoken by the populace of non-European nations, the necessity of the vast majority of these populace to speak those European languages. So the so-called white man he's the so-called English, he's the so-called British, he's the so-called Australians, he's the so-called Americans, he's the so-called Spanish, he's the so-called French, right? They're all Edomites. It says European languages, i.e. English. They speak English in Ghana. They speak English in Nigeria. They speak English in Kenya, English and in India, all over the world, man. The French in Haiti. So there'll be the other nation, Edom, Esau, Edom. It says synagogue in Niger, Spanish throughout South and Central America, and so on. Since the educational systems of these nations are chiefly based on what the colonizers, the so-called white man, established, in which in some cases the former colonial powers still administer. So the education received by the populace, which, this is madness, man, is unavoidably westernized. I went into that in my last lesson about westernization. Look that up. That's when the so-called white man bring his values, his language, his customs, and his Christianity, his way of doing things, and force them upon you and make you think that's the right way. And then that's how you become brainwashed. It says, be it literature, they covered everything in that. Physics, psychology are the most important of our understanding history. So that's why people literally don't know nothing, and everything that they've been told is pretty much a lie. But you try to tell them that. It said the history most of the world has inculcated is Eurocentric version, the so-called white man version. So they the greatest at everything. They the smartest. They the greatest. That's how they sell it. That's how they package it and sell it to the people and brainwash them. It said which most of us have come to accept as truthful. That is absolutely the truth. It says absolute in most instances. None of these objectives can or should be applied to what Eurocentric writers have presented to us regarding the history of the world from the most ancient past to the present. So what is this saying? They lied about everything. Make a long story short, and they cannot be trusted. Let's get a little bit deeper into this lesson. Let me go here. And this is one of their brainwashing techniques to use images. That's why when they would come over here with that Christianity BS, they would bring that image with them. All right, so that people can think that's the Messiah and brainwash them, and so they can brainwash their children, and it repeats every generation. And that's where we at right now. It says imagery and imagination. It said, listen to this very carefully. It says both imagery and imagination play an important part of our mental lives. I want you to let that marinate for a minute. It says both imagery and imagination play an important part of our mental life. So whatever you've been saw growing up, that's what you're going to implant in your mind and consider to be the truth. Let me cut this off. All right, so let me go to this first scripture. And this is why they took the Apocrypha out of the Holy Bible, because it was originally part of the 1611 KJV Bible. It says, First Maccabees 3:48, it laid open the book of the law. What's the book of the law? The Holy Bible. All right, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. Thus, you got this and many other images. And it was something I read is when you got images, you don't need words. All right, you can brainwash people just on images. That's how powerful images are. It literally runs the world. But when you tell our people that this would be the true depiction of the Messiah, they can't comprehend that because they've been given the witchcraft, the image ever since they was a little kid. All right, this is what they've been given as truth, which is nothing but a lie. But try telling them that their mind can't process it. It's too much. That's how heavy this enchantment is. Let's go here. I'm gonna show you a term that you probably never heard of. It's called iconoclasm, and that's what the white man did, like kind of how he did in Africa, meaning Egypt, when he came in and broke the noses off most of the statues, just try to hide the dominant features that these would be so-called people of color, and say it like that, because they really people of color as well. And that's just another way of saying colored, which was an insulting term that they called us. So let's just say the people wasn't, the people were so-called brown flesh people. All right. But The Egyptians, so-called, the Hamites, are not the same as the Israelites that was dwelling on in that land. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. That's another thing the so-called white man sold the world as colorism. All right, Israelites come in all different shape, form, and sizes. This is what it is. It says iconoclasm. It says the rejection of or destruction of religious images as heretical. The doctrine of the iconoclast is. And let me show you what that is. So they basically come in and destroy all the icons, all the images, and they paint themselves as being the Messiah, the Most High. And this is what an iconoclast is. You see what he's doing, right? He's taking that brown image and whitening it up. That's what you call whitewash. And they did all the artwork like that because they had to push this lie. That Cesare Borgia, you see right here, that devil. Let's get more into this. Let's go. Let's pull another scripture. This is the book of 2 Corinthians 10 and 5. It says, casting down imagination. So what is in our people's imagination? This so-called white boy named Jesus, which is an idol. They look at the Most High as being a so-called white man. All the patriarchs out of the Bible, Daniel, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Noah, it's all so-called white men. It's all so-called black men. So that's why we got to cast down the imagination that's in your mind and build it up with truth. Let me read this. It says, casting down imaginations, plural, and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. So your goddamn college degree in theologian school is not going to solidify you knowing the truth. It's the spirit of the Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. What prophet went to seminary school? None of them. It was born into it. All right. And exalted himself against the knowledge of Yahweh Ba'ashim and Yahweh Shai. I want you to listen up to this and bring it into captivity every thought. So we binding those thoughts with this truth and bring it into captivity, man. So it can be out of your mind. All right. Read this again and bring it into captivity every thought. So everything that you thought was the truth, we bringing it, into captivity and like letting you know that's not the truth. And you got to throw that stuff out of your mind. Every thought to the obedience of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai. All right. So let's go to this word thought. Salakia. It says thought. Check this out. It says an idea or opinion produced by thinking that's heavy or occurring suddenly in the mind. So this is what our people believe. All the things that they've been taught is nothing but lies, man. Check this out. Let's go to similar words. It says belief. You can't make this kind of stuff up. It says image. It says perception. So these images that you saw growing up, it forms your reality, man, whether you know it or not. All right. So that by you having a skewed how can I say this? Have you by showing you those fake images, don't it has unless the spirit of the Lord dawns on you, man, and lets you wake up away. All right, we're not doing this on our own will, Salakia. Let's go here. But you see it. It says, let's see, let's go to some more. It says the act of thinking at the top about something of ideas and opinions. That's heavy. So, and it goes on many different levels. And the things that you saw that's in your imagination, it molds your reality. That's why you have to break that stuff down and put the correct things in your mind. Like most of our people think about this as being the Messiah, the so-called white man. But you got to cast it down, right? And imagine him to look like the scriptures say, Revelations 1 and 13 through 15 has been a so-called black man, half wool, all right? White as snow. And his feet like they've been burned in the furnace, all right? And then your feet going to be the same color your whole body is, man. So this is what you need to put in your imagination. Call halal Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim, Rakak Wadah, Shalom.